The one, the only.
Sorry.
Dave McClure, who I'll put him on the spot. Do you want to come up here, Dave, and answer this question?
Come on, Dave.
Dave is running the operational aspect. As you can imagine, Dave and I partner a lot on implementation, and Dave keeps the promises I make, so that's a good thing.
Is this on? It's a great question, and I think the answer is that we have learned quite a lot from the IAS and email experiences. So there was a meeting, for example, yesterday in which we invited the IAS vendors in. We said, what do we need to do to streamline the process, to get this right, and to improve how we do establish the security baseline? So I guarantee you we're focused on this for the FedRAMP process. We know it's going to be a challenging implementation because we're not relaxing security. We're actually making it very rigorous to get an ATO for a government-wide service. So the key is that we communicate very fundamentally with industry up front on here are critical things that we have to get right to get you through this process. That is a learning exercise for the last few months in the IS exercise. So I'm taking it very personally. Mary's taking it very personally. We want this built right. That's why you're seeing a very gradual rollout of it. We got to kick the tires. We still have to talk to you. We still have to learn. Guarantee you we'll do it right. We do not want to do this wrong.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Another question over here. We're getting down to the last couple.
Good morning. I'm Mike Miller with Array Information Technology. On November 28th, the White House issued a presidential memo on managing government records and was wondering what your role is going to be and what you think will come out of all of this.
I have an implementation meeting on that this afternoon, so I'll let you know what. This is one that we're pushing for, looking at opportunities to just kind of change the culture and change the dialogue across the government. And I think electronic records and looking at what the possibility could be there is very important from the standpoint of the way we collect data and other things. Now, from my role and perspective, I think one is, when I was at the FCC, we had these crazy rules on the book that said things like when we had a monthly commission meeting, we had to print certain numbers of the documents and put them in the back of the room. And what you'd see at the beginning of the room is a pile that was 20 documents high, and when you'd leave at the end of the commission meeting, it'd be 19 high or something. Somebody would grab one of those things, and that requirement just seemed very, very strange and silly from the standpoint of where we are today. So a couple things that I'm going to focus on related to this. One is, working with and talking to Congress about blanket exemptions around the requirement to print and to collect from a paper standpoint. That we've got a lot of laws that require very arcane, they just aren't modernized to accommodate this. And so promoting the ability to do things electronically from the outset, or a blanket exemption across U.S. law, much like the Paper Reduction Act and others did, to sort of look across to existing law and say, okay, you can be exempt from the print aspect of that. The second thing is thinking about the smart use of technology and the way we collect. Just collecting electronically isn't good enough. We need to think about standardized schema and other technologies to collect, and so we get good data in that's machine readable, usable inside, and we can disseminate on the outside. I made a rule at the FCC, and we started to go back and change all of our policies to accommodate this, that everything needed to be machine readable, and we chose sort of an XML set of schema that we drove towards. And so not only did we start to work with the industry to say, okay, as you send us stuff, here's how we want it sent, we started to capture it and use it internally, and then on the dissemination side, if you go, and there's some pending announcements from the FCC about some of this coming up on the website, but the website's actually one big web service, and you can't tell that right now, but it's all schematized, all XML and everything, and so that's transformative, because once you do that, you suddenly writing applications, mobilizing, doing mobile versions and all that it's just an easy turn to get into that world, and so we just need to be smart about the way we capture this stuff. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we need to get Steve back to his office, so this will be the last question.
Thank you, Steve. Brian Ward with Serco.
I was part of the Cloud 2 Commission, and the principal contribution there was to incentivize agencies to move to the cloud, and that involved incentivizing both so that the cloud was the most attractive option and was the path of least resistance. So when you're talking about share first and future first, what sort of regulations and what sort of methods are you going to employ to allow agencies to be confident that their savings will allow them the ability to reinvest and improve their mission ability and performance moving forward?
Well, we're looking at policy now to think about how do we sort of enact this. I know the cloud first policy had a move to in the year and things like that. We're looking at that and trying to determine do we need to put policy forward to incentivize that motion, or can we build other mechanisms to do it, and will pressures on fiscal and other things help us get along there? One of the things you maybe read in the FedRAMP memo is that we did create a requirement that once operational, people go through FedRAMP, and even now, between now and operational standpoint, they start using the controls that we outlined in FedRAMP, and so we're going to start to think about that. On Shared First, it implies a cloud motion, and it's something that we're thinking about how do we operationalize as we get out to think in the course of 2012 as people are moving and identifying those shared services, how do we get those to move to cloud-based? And the motion there, I think the pressure that's going to help us a lot, and the thing that I'm going to promote a lot, is this whole CapEx to OpEx motion. It's the we can't sustain as a U.S. government agencies coming forward and saying every 3 to 5 years, I need some big capital infusion because I need to upgrade my data center or do something. Government works best when you're working at an OpEx level. And you get that operating expense set at pegged at a level that you can operate time over time, but with cloud, you get all these extra benefits of upgrades and maintenance and other things that offloads and scale efficiencies and things. And so it's that pressure, I think, will help us. As far as them taking the money back and reinvesting, that's where evangelism comes in. And talking, and luckily the two hats I wear as federal CIO and administrator of electronic government gives me hands into the OMB process on budgeting and working with the appropriators. And I've some of the best conversations I've had in DC so far have been with the appropriations staff about some of the promise this stuff holds and how there's efficiencies. We can't be, penny wise and pound foolish, because we do need to spend on technology to get these long-term gains. And so working through that process is something you'll see us doing definitely in the new year, and thinking about those incentive mechanisms. So.
And just one request, when Dave asks for more money for FedRAMP, give it to him.
I'm checking your wallet to see if it went up.
With that, now another round of applause, and thanks Steve for coming out today.
Thank you.
Are these yours?
Yes, right. That's what I thought. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks everybody for coming. Don't forget, we have a lot more events from ACT, IAC, and Affirm coming up, and pay attention. Thank you and have a good day.